So, now let's consider what jhana really is and what bliss and joy and ecstasy are. So, if you recall, Sanskrit term samadhi is the superset in Buddhism of religious experiences or ecstasies. And jhana is a subset of samadhi. It represents the first four stages of samadhi. So the first four jhanas are just jhana 1 through 4. They are defined. Piiti and sukha, or bliss and joy, are the defining characteristic. One of the things I think needs to be gotten at about understanding samadhi is that it has many shades of gray. So samadhi begins at some place, some point, the first samadhi or the first jhana, and then it progressively goes to a more profound experience. So a lot of people who appear to talk authoritatively about jhana or samadhi tend to make the experience fantastic, and the upper stages of samadhi, in my experience, are fantastic, but they don't begin at that fantastic level. They work up from some modest experience up to a fantastic experience. So how do we know when somebody has entered samadhi? If we look at the suttas, we see that the first jhanas virtually describe specifically just in the arising of piiti and sukha, which, as I said earlier, is bliss and joy. Now, how fantastic does that bliss and joy have to be? Or how rapturous does that bliss and joy have to be? In my opinion, from practicing daily meditation for 35 years and from leading a number of forums in which we discussed people's meditation experiences, in which literally hundreds of people on that forum, the Jhana support group and Kundalini Heat, both forums, and overall the conclusion is that the first jhana is just feeling a pleasant elation, a pleasant joyfulness from the practice of meditation. This also suggests that almost any religious activity can produce an elated experience for people, which suggests to me that almost every religious activity in almost every culture, there's a means of accessing this pleasant state, which I believe is the first jhana. The first jhana being just the arising of pleasant feelings and joyful feelings as a consequence of engaging in a religious activity. Okay, so that's my definition of the first jhana, meaning that when you're practicing meditation and you find that meditation pleasant and joyful and fulfilling, then by definition you've arrived at the first jhana. Now the second jhana is defined by not only bliss and joy being present, piiti and sukha, but also the arising of tranquility. Now, what is tranquility? Well, my experience and most of the people who I discuss meditation with, they find that after they get to that kind of pleasant and joyful stage of meditation, that they find their body relaxes and their mind becomes relatively still. So I think that's what the tranquility is the stilling of the mind. Now, some schools of Buddhism want to make that stilling of the mind a fantastic experience, that, as if only a few in billions will ever experience it. But, you know, in my personal experience with meditation and meditative absorption, and in my case histories, I know of hundreds of people who have gotten to a place of a stilling of the mind, of a relative stilling of the mind, which typically comes with the very relaxed feelings in the body, and that sensation of stilling of the mind and the relaxation of the body is typically pleasant and joyful for people, piiti and sukha. So to me, the second jhana is the stilling of the mind, which is a joyful and pleasant experience. Now, the third stage of absorption represents a deeper level, in my experience, of tranquility. It's generally, the term, Pali term, is generally translated as equanimity. The experience of that is that the subject typically says, oh, I felt so peaceful, my mind was so still, that the sounds in the room did not disturb me at all. I felt as though I was an open conduit, and all the sensations of my environment just passed through, but there was no grasping on those sensations. Now, what is inherent in that description is a non-dual experience, in which the person is not identifying sensation as subject and object. That sensation is just passing through them, and they're feeling like an empty conduit. That empty conduit is a non-dual statement, I believe. I take it as a non-dual statement, and that's my experience, is that it's a non-dual experience. So that's the third jhana, in my opinion, is that feeling as though the senses are typically heightened. One can hear things at great distances. One can feel the tiniest little tingle in the body. But those sensations don't distract one. One's not bringing all of one's attention to, let's say, an itch on the body. Instead, all the tingles on the body can be felt at once. At the same time, one can hear all the sounds that are present in the room, and so forth. Okay, and also, typically at this time, what I call charismatic phenomena typically starts arising. A lot of people report hearing a chirping or a ringing sound that is not physical, that cannot be recorded with physical instruments. The tingling sensations on the body become a kind of vibratory sensation all over the surface of the body, which I believe is the feeling of the aura. And if their eyes are closed, oftentimes there's a hallucinatory quality to the experience. Okay, so that's the third jhana. Now the fourth jhana is typically described by people by saying that they were so relaxed and so deeply absorbed that they felt as though they could meditate forever. And most of these subjects, by the way, are typically meditating beyond an hour. So they've been in meditation for about an hour, and then they get to this layer of their meditation, this altered state of consciousness arises in which they're still aware of the physical world, still aware that they have a physical body, but the aches and pains of the physical body are gone, and they feel as though they could sit in meditation forever. That's very commonly stated by people who have this experience. And often they also say that that their breath stopped, that they didn't notice their breathing anymore.